people criticizing Ryan Day's offensive game plan and Heartline's offensive game plan, I think they knew right off the rip, these guys can't handle this. And they were going to put the offense in risk as much as they needed to. That's what I feel like they were going for, because I have heard a lot of criticism of the game plan being so conservative. Dylan, I think they would have ramped it up if they needed to, and they came out with the best possible scenario, keeping Julian confident. No mistakes were made, and they didn't even show anything. Like, they showed nothing offensively, and that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think very early on, obviously Julian was let down by some plays that weren't made as well. So, I mean, I think that offensive game plan was everything they needed it to be and everything they thought they would need it to be. And, so much about, game planning and play calling is feel of the game and feel of the moment, how things are going right now. I think you're right. Absolutely. Very early on, they realized, like, defensively, like, they're going to keep this, not only keep this game close, but, like, they're going to be dealing here. So, just go out and find a way to make a few plays and convert a few drives and get points on the board. Like, you're going to be in a really good spot there. So, and they were right about that. Now, look, obviously Texas had opportunities that they didn't connect on that, could have maybe made that game different, or certainly made it a lot more interesting, early on, and changed the way Ohio State approached that. But, when it comes to Julian, who am I to say, it's so interesting going into a game of that magnitude with that situation at quarterback. I can't even imagine what it's like trying to get that, quarterback prepared for a situation like that. But to see Julian's poise and patience, so, there's two words I kept on coming back to all day. And then even afterwards, poise and patience. And, I have to believe that if you ask Ryan what you wanted to see out of Julian Sayin more than anything, obviously you want to see some throws, make some plays, win the game. Obviously he kept on coming back to just what expectations are for Julian. It's to win the game. And I get all that. But if you had to see anything out of your quarterback in that game, win or lose, that you'd want to see poise and you'd want to see patience. Just be patient within the game plan, patient within the offense, and be poised. Don't let, certain things, get you sped up or, make you force plays that aren't there. Just stay poised and patience. And like he did that to a T. And for a young quarterback in that situation, that's such a wonderful sign to see. And Ryan said this after the fact as well. He may be alluding to something different, but just talked about the signs that were there. That there were very good signs of what he saw there. And I think that's what I come away from saying, no matter if anybody didn't like the game plan or not, and maybe you thought it was bullshit, maybe you thought that, they should have opened it up more. Ryan even said that they probably could have put more on Julian. I get that. But no matter what you thought about it, they got away with it. They won the football game. And Ryan's telling you that there were very, very good signs, and they already thought coming into it that they probably could have put more on him. So whatever you think about it, maybe you're unhappy about it, fine, cool, whatever. They won the football game. They just beat the number one team in the country, and he's telling you that there's more they could put on him, and that there were very good signs of what they did put on him that says like Julian Sayin's going to be fine. So if you don't like the game plan, fine, whatever, unless you're just a guy who just hates, or you're always one of those guys who criticizes coaching staffs, that's fine, whatever. But if you just didn't like the game plan, okay, fine. We could probably have a conversation, fine, whatever. But they won the football game, and Ryan Day's telling you that everything he saw out of his quarterback was very, very encouraging, and they probably could have saw more if they needed to. So I have no complaints there. Like I'm so excited about what's going to happen at the quarterback position for Ohio State moving forward.
Yeah, I am too, and I think I'm with you. Like, even if you lost the game and you saw what you saw out of him, the way he was so like, let's say one of those balls gets tipped up, pick six. But you saw what you saw out of him, even in the post game. Like, this guy, like, nothing seems to affect him.
Yeah.
And that's just about the best trait you could have being a young quarterback at Ohio State of all places. So that was great. But to the game plan stuff, I think that there's a difference, a big difference when, say, for instance, you and I are talking about Ohio State playing against a 28-point underdog Michigan State team, and we see issues. We're talking about those issues after a win because we're projecting forward. What's that going to look like against number one? Well, we just beat number one, so you don't need to project. That's it. That's the difference, right?
And that's I'm sorry. That's a very good point, because I even had this problem talking to people after the game as well. Like, we're talking about like, didn't love this or that. And then it always come back to, but like, look, we're grading this on the scale of like, that was a national championship football game. Like that could be the two teams that are playing for the national title on the biggest stage in sport in week one. So we're gauging this on that scale. Like, you have, it's impossible not to include that skill in and say, like, everything you're saying is against potentially the other best team or one of the best teams in college football. So, like, good news for Ohio State is they're not going to play a team of that caliber. They might not play a team of that caliber ever, again this season. And if they do, it's going to be, maybe a team or two. So, like, yeah, like everything we're talking about is graded on that scale. And, I think that gets lost in the shuffle. Even sometimes when I was evaluating the game, I have to be like, but like I say all this stuff and like, but that was Texas. That was the number one team in the country. So, like, but anyways, yeah.
Ohio State wanted all those players. Texas wanted all those players on Ohio State. Like, it's the best of the best right there.
Yep.
But I did want to talk about, oh shit, I just lost my place. Let me mark that. I'm going to have to cut this.
Yeah.
Where did I want to go with this? Hang on.
You want to talk about how bad Brandon Baker was on Saturday, despite you want to talk about that? Goodness gracious, man.
So let's get into the nitty gritty. So let's get into a little bit more of the nitty gritty on the on the Texas side of the ball. Obviously, Arch is getting totally crushed. I think that dude maybe could have looked a little better after he's in his third year now.
Yeah.
But I do think he is going to be better. I think he is going to be a top quarterback in college football before it's all said and done this year. Possibly a little overrated coming into it. His offensive line didn't do him a ton of favors. Brandon Baker, who the Buckeyes missed big time in recruiting. That was a big one that everybody was really mad about.
Yeah.
Year 2, he earns the starting job at right tackle. That kid had a rough day, really rough day.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Brandon Baker, just probably about as big a nightmare as he could ever imagine going into that game. Like, I have nothing against Brandon Baker. He's a true sophomore. He's going to be a great player. First of all, he's probably going to be a day one NFL draft pick. I would venture to say that much. But that was about as bad a day as you could have for a guy who just earned a starting job. It was not pretty.
And again, a lot of that was mental, and it shows you what the pressure can do. A lot of it was mental.
Yeah. Going into Arch real quick. I don't think there's any question. Look, there's been so much discourse on Arch Manning from the moment before that game even ended, from the first quarter of that game. I don't think there's any question that Arch Manning was quote unquote overrated coming into this game. And that's no fault of Arch Manning's whatsoever. I still think the world of Arch Manning. I think he's got a ton of talent. You saw in the last 2 drives of that game some flashes of what made Arch Manning the guy that that was so highly talented as well. But make no mistake about it as well. Arch Manning missed some throws there. It had nothing to do with anything Matt Patricia or that Ohio State defense did. Arch Manning just missed some throws, some big throws in that game as well. The Ryan Wingo throw on that last drive is a massive play that who knows what happens if he delivers that ball there. So obviously the Jermaine Matthews an interception again as well, just a poor decision and a poor throw. And maybe not a poor decision, it was a poor throw. So Arch made some some plays there, or didn't make some plays there. It just was not good quarterbacking, and for whatever reason, I don't know what that was. But at the end of the day, I think the disappointment of Arch is a byproduct of. Well, we talked about this coming into the game. So many assumptions were being made about Arch Manning. So, we talked about who was going to win the game, or, the matchups we liked. And there were so many assumptions about Arch just based on what we thought, everybody thought he was just going to step into the recruit that he was.